Welcome back, everyone. Today's lesson is going to be on the future perfect verb tense. We've talked about many of the verb tenses over the past few lessons, especially the past perfect and the present perfect. But today, the last one to remain is the future perfect tense. How is this one going to be a little bit different? Before we get into the future perfect tense, I want to make sure we all remember what is the simple future tense. The simple future tense, the pattern is very easy actually. It's just going to be will plus the infinitive of the verb. So I will visit my friends in the US. That is a simple future tense statement because what you are saying is you think something is going to happen in the future, and that's it. One thing. But when you talk about future perfect, it's not one thing you are projecting into the future. You are thinking about multiple events in the future. So if you have 2 or 3 things that you think will happen or you think you will do in the future, which one comes first? And that is, of course, a very important question. Which one is going to happen first in your things that will happen in the future? When you create this pattern, we'll get to this, but the simple future is mentioned before you mention the future perfect tense. That's why it's important that you remember the simple future. Because the idea is you start with one thing. In a conversation, you'll say something like, oh yeah, so I will go to see my friends. Oh, before I do that, and then you just kind of remember before you do this future thing, there's going to be something else you do. And so when you mention that, there is a pattern to use. You can either say, will have past participle, or be going to have past participle. The have doesn't change. This one, you don't have to worry about subject-verb agreement, just like the past future tense. But when you use will have past participle, that's the easiest way to make the future perfect. If you want to be a little bit more creative or a little bit more challenging, you can use the be going to. But be careful, when you use be, you have to have subject-verb agreement. I am, he, she, it is, you, we, they are, right? So going to have past participle. Past participle we talked about as well. The past participle is the form of the verb that we are using, but if it's a regular verb, the past participle is going to end in ed. If it's an irregular verb, it does not end in ed. You just have to memorize the list of regular and irregular verbs. The regular verbs are pretty common, but it's actually surprising how many irregular verbs that we use in our day-to-day life. But there's far more regular verbs in the dictionary. It's one of those things you have to memorize. But let's go into some examples here about the simple future tense and the future perfect tense. As we mentioned, the simple future has to be mentioned first. So you could say, you're talking, oh yeah, I will visit my friends in the US, but I will finish school before you do that. So how do you put those together? I will visit my friends in the US. I am going to have finished school. So I will visit my friends. I am going to have finished school. Which one comes first? This one. Or you could switch it. You could say, oh yeah, I will finish school, but I will have visited my friends before you finish school. So this one could go either or. You could switch the order of those two. It just depends where you want to put your pattern. It's will have past participle or be going to past participle. Be going to have past participle. So those are the 2 patterns you can work on for the future perfect tense. Let's review.
Future perfect tense. What is the pattern for the simple future tense? The pattern is will plus verb, infinitive. When do you use the simple future tense? You think something, an event, is going to happen in the future. When do you use the future perfect tense? You use it when you are talking about multiple events in the future. When is the simple future mentioned in relation to the future perfect? The simple future is mentioned before the future perfect. What is the pattern for the future perfect tense? The pattern is will have plus past participle, be going to have plus past participle. When using the be going to have future perfect pattern, what must you remember? You must remember to have subject-verb agreement. What should be kept in mind regarding the past participle? For regular verbs, they end in ed. For irregular verbs, they do not end in ed.